The account of Jesus' baptism in the Gospels is really over so quickly, but the implications are just extraordinary. So we're going to take a quick look at this together. The baptism of Jesus involves really three things. One is the voice of God that is spoken, we have the water itself, and we have the Spirit who descends. So Jesus is in the place of the river Jordan with John the Baptist, and these three elements are involved. So he is in the water, and he receives affirmation and words of affection from the Father, and the Spirit then descends upon him. That's really the snapshot of the story. Normally the focus is upon the words that the Father speaks, and rightly so, where the Father says, "This is my Son, whom I love. With him I am so pleased." So there's this great affection, there's the identity of Jesus that's affirmed. This is God the Son. The affection of the Father is affirmed, whom I love, and the obedience of the Son, the track that he is on, is all pleasing to the Father. And then often we go from there straight into the rest of the story. But when we consider the implications of what's going on, and really the image of the baptism, and what it is that's being spoken of, there's something so deep and rich for us to receive here. What I think is being presented is that Jesus is now the new one. And he is new in so many ways. He presents to really the cosmos a new and better way. If we think of the creation narrative back in Genesis, what's involved? Well, there's the water that we're told is this sort of primordial chaos. We're told that the Father speaks, "Let there be," and there was, and it was good. And we have the Spirit who descends and brings order and goodness to creation. So we have these three things at play. We have water, we have the voice of the Father, the word of the Father, and we have the Spirit. So I think one of the images here in the baptism is that Jesus is the new creation. He's in the water, he has the word of the Father, and the Spirit is upon him. He is the new creation. In the creation account as well in Genesis, we have Adam, who receives the breath of God. The word of God is spoken to him, and he is now the archetype of humanity. I think Jesus is now being presented through the baptism as the archetype of the new humanity, because the word is spoken to him, he is from the water, and he receives the Spirit, the Ruach, the breath of God. So Jesus is the new creation, he's the new humanity. There's more to it. When he goes through the water, Jesus proceeds into the wilderness for his 40 days of testing and temptation. Here's an echo back to Israel. Israel go through the water of the Red Sea. The next event is that they then go into their 40 years of the wilderness for testing and temptation, to be refined for what is ahead. So we have the water and the 40, and I think Jesus is now being presented to us as he is the new Israel. He is the one who then brings the purposes of God and offers them to us. But I think it continues, because what we have in Jesus is now the meeting place, the very the connection, the collision, if you will, of heaven and earth, of God and humanity. Now that place was previously held by the temple. The temple was the place to go where you would want to hear God, where you would meet with God, where you would find the presence of God. Well, now that is Jesus. Jesus is from the water of baptism, having the word of God, being told that he is the embodiment of God. This is my Son, God the Son, and he receives the Spirit. So Jesus is now the meeting place of heaven and earth. He is where God meets humanity. So Jesus is now presented to us, I think, as the new temple. And then a final one would be, who works in the temple? Well, it's the priests. So Jesus, I think, is being presented to us as the new priesthood. Because in the inauguration of becoming a priest in the old Levitical law, the first thing that would happen is that you'd be washed head to toe with water. You would have to go through the water in order to be brought into the role of priesthood. And now we have Jesus going through the water, and he, according to the book of Hebrews, is the new high priest who brings a new and better way, a living way. So this beautiful, quick image from the Gospels of Jesus being baptized brings to us the Christ as he is now the new creation. He is the new humanity. He is the new Israel. He is the new temple, and he is the new priesthood. So in Jesus we do not just have a slight adjustment to creation. We don't just have an additional option added to the cosmos, we have a radical and complete restructuring around him. That he is now the center of the new and living way from the Father. And it is for us to then bring our lives and gather to him. And the rest of the Gospels is the subtle unpacking of what it means to live in the new creation as the new humanity, worshipping God in the new living temple that is the person and the presence of Christ. That is, he is the new Israel brought to us to bring the new covenant. And he is the one who then mediates between us and the Father as the new priest, the new high priest. So our Christology is enriched as we consider and ponder the beauty of these stories from the Gospels. So we'll continue on with that in the days ahead. Until then, peace.